Let's play a game. You've set up your awesome shot. You've already scripted out that perfect video and you're all ready to hit record. So we're good to go, create that perfect video, and as you sit down with that camera recording and that red little light blinking in your face, you start to think about what you need to actually say, and it's kind of all gone. You freeze up and you're this formal version of yourself, unable to deliver the most simplest lines that you had already pre-planned and had such a clear idea of what you were going to do. Hey guys, in today's video, we are going to be covering these topics of these different things. It's not you, it's this formal version, and it's completely not what you actually act like. I've been there, and after getting comments like this one that said, I want to come back and say thank you, I followed your advice and I finally got over my fear of talking into the camera. I need to keep practicing so I'm not stiff, but I can't believe how much it helped. I published my first YouTube video 2 days ago after procrastinating for 2 years. Yay. And that was all thanks to the first video that I made on this topic. And I figured, you know what? I actually have a whole nother array of things that you can apply right now to make it seem like you're super confident and comfortable on camera, even if you aren't. So let's get into it. I have an exercise that you can try in the real world after you've watched this video, and once we've gone through the crucial steps that will change the way that you interact with the camera, I'm going to share that with you so that you can start doing it now and never have that uncomfortable feeling in front of camera again. But before we get to that, let's get a little bit acclimated. So the first thing that I think we can do to really help drastically change that is to hit record on that camera and kind of just shake out and relax. And just kind of familiarize yourself and become a little bit more comfortable with being in front of camera while it's recording you. You can talk to the camera if you want. You can say absolutely nothing. The important thing is that the camera is actually recording, because as soon as that record button happens, people immediately go, oh, okay, camera's recording, let me do my things. It's almost like there's super limited time and I need to figure everything out. Just woosa, take a few breaths, let it record. You don't have to deliver anything to camera if you don't want. You can tell it a random story completely irrelevant to any video topic that you are interested in covering. You just want to be here. You want to be comfortable and just spend a bit of time there and get used to it. This is a very unusual and uncommon thing to do, to be speaking to a camera in a room by yourself. But as you can get more comfortable with that strange feeling, and as it becomes more natural, everything calms down and you can just slowly get through the things that you want to get through. You can watch this video afterwards if you want. You don't even have to. You can also just straight delete it. But it is important that you hit that record and you see that red light flashing, so that you know that this camera is actually recording, it's filming you in your little space, and you actually have the authentic feeling. And then just hang out there and lean into that feeling and realize that it's actually totally fine. So here's one that will completely change your whole flow when it comes to being on camera. Most people, when they're writing scripts, whether it's bullet points or word for word scripts, people write for the eye instead of the ear. And what I mean by this is, when you're scripting out your video, you're focusing on the screen and the words of how you're writing them out. But you need to actually change this, and you need to write for the ear, because you can end up writing these somewhat complicated words and tongue twisters that look good on screen or paper as you script it, but when you start to read it back to camera and start to play it out for the ear, you start stumbling and tripping over your own script, confusing and complicating it, making it that much harder to deliver something that could have been said in a simple way. So instead of writing for the screen and trying to focus on here, I think it's a far better exercise to game out your rough script for the ear and really focus, even when you are writing down those notes so that you don't just forget them all, that you are really talking it out. Talk it while you're writing it, feel and hear how it actually sounds in a real life scenario where you're speaking, not just scripting onto screen. Then you can come back and you can kind of tweak things to make them make a bit more sense or feel things how they should be, move it around, change some words, make sure your sentence structure or any formalities like that fit well. But initially, I would say just script out your videos in voice and in your mind so much more than just on the screen or paper. Learning to be confident on camera is like most skills where it takes a lot of practice, but you need to make sure that you are practicing in the right direction to not be just wasting your time. And Skillshare, which I'm very grateful to be the sponsor of today's video, is the largest online learning platform out there. And if you want to learn any sort of skills, you can learn from the experts within that field. One of my favorites is this Grow Your First YouTube Channel mini program where you can literally go through these different steps that it will take to grow a successful YouTube channel, even including this How to Speak to Camera Confidently by Nathaniel Drew. It has almost 15,000 students and it's amazing that you can learn everything that you need to know about how to be on camera with different little steps and chapters, making it easy and digestible to get the most out of your time spent. I think content creation, above so many other things, requires learning so many skills. And if you want to make that whole journey easier for yourself, head on over to Skillshare and learn the things that will actually impact you in your content creation journey. The best part is you can sign up for Skillshare and get your first month completely free. This is the perfect way to turn your I want tos into I am actually doings. So go and head over onto Skillshare. The link is going to be down in the top of my description. I would highly recommend it to improve on any skills that you want to so that you can become better at all of these things. Next up, we have different personas, and in real life, it's likely you've realized that you act slightly different depending on the different scenarios that you're in. Maybe you are in a job interview and you're acting quite formal, really trying to be on your best behavior. Maybe it's a terrifying first interaction with that new girlfriend's parents. I bet you act in a completely different way in one of those scenarios than when you're hanging with your friends, your best buddies, super casual, just chatting about whatever in your day. You have a whole different persona and a different demeanor. The thing is, when people hit record on the camera, they so often fall into this very uptight, formal persona that they have reserved for things like job interviews. And all of a sudden, because it's quite an uncomfortable feeling when you hit that record button, you think that you need to fall into that. And that is not the one that you want to lean into, because if you want anyone that's watching your videos and your viewers to resonate with you, you should way rather lean into the super casual, the super comfortable. You're hanging out with the person watching your video one-on-one. It's not this big formal thing that you are trying to, yes, we're going to do this. No, it's super casual. Get comfortable, hang out, do your thing, adjust yourself, humanize yourself, just be more, you're chilling. Envision yourself hanging with your best buddies, just talking scrap, doing whatever you kind of want. You act so differently. When you're hanging out with your friends, I'm sure you're not really worrying about every single word that you say. Am I saying the right thing? Am I doing this? No, you're just chilling a little bit. And that is going to come across on camera in a really strong way. Let's talk pacing, and this is a tricky one, but let me make it a bit easier for you. When people are starting out, their attempt at making the video interesting is to speak incredibly fast and to get through everything as fast as they possibly can to hold the attention of the viewer that's trying to watch this video. But let me demo something for you quickly. If we pretend that we are speaking on a speed scale of about 1 to 10 and we land somewhere at about a 2, it's incredibly boring, and I feel like you would click off of this video any second from now. So what if we speak really fast and we try to get through our entire script, delivering every single thing, all of this value, but smashing it into that viewer's face in the hopes of keeping all of their attention drawn onto us so that they can't even look away for a split second because they might miss some of the information that we're delivering on them way too fast? No, that also doesn't work. So should we fall somewhere in the middle then? If we landed about a 6 on that scale of 1 to 10, you might think that this might be quite interesting because we are going to be speaking at the right speed to kind of keep the attention of the people. And initially it seems at this about a 6, it's quite interesting. But as I talk more and more, you can see that it very quickly becomes monotonous and boring, meaning that it's quite hard for you to actually pay attention to anything that I'm saying, regardless of what I'm actually even talking about. So here's the critical part. We do want to land at about a 6, but so much more important than the pacing is the inflection in your voice to create things that are interesting and enticing. Imagine someone was reading you a bedtime story, an awesome bedtime story, but their entire flow was just this boring, monotonous, drawn out nothingness. We staying at about 6, like how I'm talking to you right now. But my speed, my pacing, my inflection, my emphasis on important things and slowing down to make you listen to the parts I want you to, and speeding up on the parts that I need to get through to show further emphasis on those important parts, that's what counts. And once you can start mastering that, you have a whole different game of being charismatic and confident on camera, and that is what is going to keep people's attention. So work on your inflections, notice them, notice how you emphasize different things, and just breathe some character into that otherwise somewhat straightforward and linear script that you might be working with. One of the best things about this is this will make you a better communicator in all aspects of your life, not only when talking to camera. And it's a hard one, but putting in the time and practice to notice how you do this, even in a real life scenario, people are going to listen to you more. They're going to be more interested in the stories that you tell because you've mastered that speed, that pacing, and that inflection in your voice. Authenticity. You might have noticed the prevalence of authentic content on YouTube these days. And in my opinion, that's great, because if that's starting to trump all of that crazy shouting at camera, over dramatic, attention grabbing insanity, that's a good thing on my books. It also makes me realize the importance of being confident on camera, because it's very hard to convey a message of authenticity if you're super tight and stiff and unable to be confident, even if your intentions are true and you are doing your best to be authentic. Pretending to be authentic is not it. It has to be real, unfiltered authenticity that you're portraying onto the camera. Before I shoot any one of my videos, I have a bit of like a little mantra or a script that I read, and it might sound silly, but you might want to write out something like this of your own to get your headspace in the right position to be putting forward your most authentic self. And it goes a little something like this. This video is not about the algorithm. It's not about getting views or tricking people into watching something. Forget about hooks, catchy titles, or holding retention. This video is about sharing something valuable to real other people that could learn or benefit from this thing that I can share. Express your true opinions that could impact just one person in a positive way. Now share that in the truest and most authentic way to me. From my actual experience and true value, I would be grateful to learn myself. And then I will film my video once I've read over that and felt it and really feel that that's how I want to deliver any piece of content to any one of my viewers. And for sure, don't just throw all YouTube content strategy and script writing techniques with good hooks and stuff out the window. Don't just forget about that. Still curate your videos in a proper way that can be engaging for people to watch, but it's about the intention as you deliver it and coming across with that true authenticity. And that is the best way that I've found how to get to it. So before we get to that real world exercise that you can start trying right now, I want to speak to you about the last thing. And it's something that you can do when you are scripting your videos to make your life so much easier. This is a big one, so listen up. Word for word scripts are incredibly difficult to deliver to camera in an authentic way. If you read something and memorize it, and then recite it to the camera with that line or as much as you can get through, and then you read your word for word script and then you recite it to camera again, is exactly that, and it feels that way. It feels like you are reciting something to the camera. Now sure, you can get very good at this, and it's a way that a lot of people do it, but I would suggest, especially when starting out, it's far easier to create kind of rough bullet point scripts. Even if it's writing down all of your key points that you want to get across, the main things, the values that you want to stay in line with so that your videos aren't all over the place, and then filling in all of the blanks with your actual sentence structure and words that are natural to you to use. If you have a word for word thing that you're really trying to stick to, it just becomes very hard. Later on, if you want to do something like that, it's totally cool, and I think you can get good at it, even using something like a teleprompter to read out your actual script, which I don't have much experience in, because I find the most authentic way for me is to have my key value points, fill in the blanks, create the sentences in a way that I would actually speak in real life, just ensuring that I'm hitting all of my value points and the key aspects for my video to be as impactful as it possibly can be. Writing word for word scripts means that when you do write, people also just fall into this more formal way of writing, using bigger words and more complicated sentences that they wouldn't naturally use in an organic conversation with a comfortable friend. And if you write those out and then you try and kind of memorize and say them, it also just feeds into that aspect of being too formal and less casual, which just creates that separation boundary from the casual relationship you could be having with that person on the other side of your camera and in front of their screen. Here's a side note as well. If you do make a mistake within your sentence, whether it's word for word or bullet point script, if you stumble in the middle of your sentence or thing that you're trying to say, don't pick it up from exactly there, not even a few words back. Take it all the way back from the beginning of that sentence, because if you've noticed in my videos and this video right now, it's very seldom that there'll be a jump cut right in the middle of a sentence that kind of matches two sentences together. And that's because if I stumbled right now, I would stop and I would see where I started this sentence or paragraph, and I would go back to that beginning and take it from there again. That means your whole sentence and structure just flows really nicely instead of these like jumps going between, because you kind of picked it up from where you made that mistake, instead of just going a little bit further back and working through that piece in one solid take, like this one I just did right now. So here's that exercise that you can try that I think will really drastically impact the way that you deliver to camera. Let's pretend that you have an important point or topic that you want to cover, but not speaking to camera. We're gonna pretend that you want to send a voice note to one of your very good friends. You would most likely have a point that you want to cover or a topic that you want to say in that voice note. But before you hit record on that voice note to send it, it's unlikely that you would have planned out your entire sentence, the words that you want to use, and everything that you're going to say in that voice note. But for some reason, you know the point, the topic, and when you hit that record on the voice note, you can just whip it out and say the whole sentence, everything that you need to, blah, 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 we're doing this, blah, 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 and figure the whole thing out, no worries. You don't even really comprehend or notice the sentence and things that you're trying to say in that voice note. It just happens naturally. So I would suggest trying to approach the lines and your script, whether it's a bullet point or actual script, as in mini voice notes. You can have that idea, the topic, the concept that you need to share, and then just voice note it in the most authentic and real way using your own sentences and everything. So if you're struggling, just hold off on the camera. Maybe you can leave it recording and just pretend you're sending a voice note to a friend and say it in that same way that you would. And once you do that for enough times and you keep practicing that, it becomes the new relationship that you have with this big old scary camera. So if you want more techniques, I did create another video like this, and it goes over a lot of the more fundamental ways that you can ensure that you're coming across it on as confident on camera. And you can check that out up here. Other than that, have fun. Bye.